Hey everyone, I'm Sam from the No Wonders YouTube channel, and today we're going to talk about the yellow-blue build for It's a Wonderful World. I'm the reigning arena champion on Board Game Arena, and for the current season I am third at the moment. So what is the yellow-blue build, and why is it effective? In It's a Wonderful World, there are 5 different coloured cards. You have the white and black cards, which are your main resource producers. You typically build them early to kickstart your production, but the problem with them is that they score very few points, if any at all. The premise of the yellow-blue build is that you can skip out on a lot of these white and black cards in favour of these yellow and blue cards that produce the resources you need for you. Typically in the meta we've seen 2 builds become prevalent. The first one being a financier build, in which you just focus on getting as much white and yellow production as possible. Winning the production bonus on these gives you financiers, and then you just collect as many multipliers of those as you can, and you score something like 5 times 20 points, in a best case scenario. And then you have the other side of the coin, which is to get black and blue production, focus on getting as many generals as possible, and multiply them as much as you can. And while these builds are still fine, and can still be very effective, they can be a bit inconsistent. You're really reliant on finding those character multipliers to score a big score. The yellow-blue build has 2 main advantages. One, it's extremely flexible. You can score effectively from basically any card you come across that's a scoring card, and you can tailor your build depending on the cards that you see. If you need more blue production, focus on that. If you need a bit more yellow, focus on that. And 2, it allows you to deny cards and actually have a use for the resources. Say you're up against a white-yellow financier build. You don't mind denying 3 financier multipliers because you can put the yellow cube somewhere. It's really not a problem for you. So today we're going to go through one replay of mine, which is a yellow-blue build, and then we're going to look at 2 other finished boards to see sort of the different variations you can do, how it scores, and just why it's so effective. This is my opening hand of the replay. The number 1 card for unlocking a yellow-blue build is Underwater City. It is a really efficient card, and you're going to hear that word a lot today, efficient. It produces 3 resources, it scores 3 points, and it's a yellow card, and it only costs 5. I think if a lot of people were to look at this hand, and maybe that's my own fault for my old strategy videos, but they would see the white discards and probably lean towards taking one of them. But I would stress that white can be important, but the number of cubes here means it's less important. There are 3, so you're always at least going to get one of them back, if you need one at all. But Underwater City is the card that has the clear best upside here. And the other cards that I'm eyeing to go with this are wind turbines. That really helps you build it in round 1. You need 2 black, 1 green, and 2 yellow. You already produce 1 black and 1 green, so wind turbines is how you get the 2nd black. And then you just need 2 yellow discards, which there are 2 in this hand, so we can at least get one of them back as well. We start with that. The opponent starts with Recycling Plant. There's no white in this hand, so we can assume that the opponent will take 2 white from the other hand, get their Recycling Plant built. And to be honest, it's not a great start for yellow-blue. Underwater City makes it a good start, but ideally you would like a blue card that produces some sort of resources. There aren't any in this case, but I start taking the yellow discards away. Opponent takes a white. We go ahead and secure the wind turbines, because we need that. Here the opponent takes Neuroscience. You don't typically see many green builds, but you do have to sort of be aware that Neuroscience is a very good card for a green build, and then there's a card that scales really well with it in Virtual Reality here, so I have to take that away, and I'm happy to take it away anyway because it has the yellow discard. They do take a Research Center. They can safely do that because they're getting one of these white cubes back. I don't really need much else from this hand, so I just take a Tank Division to maybe build later. Here we just take the only blue card available, which is fine. It gives us 2 times yellow cards, so it's a nice scoring card for our yellow-blue build, but it's one that we want to finish later. It's not one that we really want to start with, but we have to anyway. And we just take a Zeppelin to maybe build later. I mean, not an amazing start. The opponent does have a good build. They get the Recycling Plant built, they're going to get Neuroscience and Research Center built, and they have 2 decent scoring cards. And especially if you're going a green build, the direction that I like to go is to sort of do white, green, a bit of yellow, and stack financier multipliers. So we'll skip ahead through this. I just get Wind Turbines, Underwater City, and Starting Garden. The opening hand of round 2, really not that great for us either. But like I said, we're very flexible with this build, and the scariest card here is Magnetic Train by far. It solves all of the yellow production issues that the opponent has, so I really don't want to give that to them, and I don't mind building it myself. The opponent starts with Casino City, which is just another financing multiplier, so I'm very glad that I took the yellow producer away. And this is more like, this is what we want to see from this hand. So we have one of the premier yellow-blue cards in Blackbeard's Treasure, We also have another Underwater City, definitely eyeing both of them. And Lunar Base is just a very solid scoring card for any build. So I would love to get 1, 2, 3. I'm going to start with Blackbeard's Treasure. Because it's such an efficient resource producer, it produces 2 rare cubes for only 3 cost. And it also has the yellow discard, which I know my opponent wants more than anything else here. So I start with that. The opponent takes a Financial Center, so they want to start their yellow production, which is fair enough. But I'm just in the mood for taking away efficient cards from them. I take away the Harbor Zone here. Because it gives them 2 Financiers and just amazing production. I think they probably should have prioritized this first. They take another Recycling Plant, which I think is a pretty clear mistake. It seems like they're over-focusing a bit on white production, or maybe they want to deny it from me, but next thing I want to secure is Lunar Base because it's a great scoring card for both of us. They take Secret Lab, which is fine, but I'm quite happy to just take away more yellow discards. They take a Wind Turbines, which is a little bit weird. But I'm very happy to get Underwater City back. So I got all 3 cards that I wanted from that hand. They take Supercomputer, which is not going to score them any points, but it does scale well with Neuroscience, basically producing 2 extra green for them. So it's an okay pick, I think. And honestly, I could take Fountain of Youth here. The thing is, I'm not sure I'm going to get that many generals, but I'm looking at a world where I'm never winning the green production bonus, and I'm only just winning the black bonus at the moment. I could be overtaken with my opponent producing so much white. So I opt to just take Wind Turbines and increase my black production. I'm assuming my opponent's going to build a Wind Turbines this round, so this at least keeps me ahead in black production, so I keep winning the general bonus. And because I don't produce that much black, it's important to just keep the black production like slowly ticking up. You don't really need a nuclear plant or anything built, but as long as you produce like 2, 3, 4 black, just keep it ticking up, it'll be effective enough. So here we get the other Underwater City built, another wind turbines, and we get Blackbeard's Treasure finished. And we did discard a couple of those yellow cards onto Underwater City to make sure it gets built. Opening hand of round 3. This is a pretty amazing opening hand for my opponent. Here I was looking at a few options. Transmutation is a very effective producer, but it's kind of late. We're in the start of round 3. Instead, I take Teleportation, with the justification being it's a good scoring card for me, 8 points and 2 Crystallium back, which I can use. And I don't particularly need the yellow production with Magnetic Train getting built soon. But I do take Teleportation here, which I think is a mistake, but the opponent opens with a Financial Center, which I think is a crazy choice, honestly. This is the thing with, I think, players over prioritize white cards too much, because they have 3 good options in that hand to produce yellow cubes in Industrial Complex, Offshore Oil Rig, and Financial Center. There's no rush to take them here, and I'm looking at a premier card in Ancient Astronauts, which is just an easy first pick for me. It's a nice scoring card. It's going to produce me a lot of green, which I need, and I can easily get it built this round. The opponent does take Transmutation. And here I'm just looking to take yellow cubes, because there's really not much else in this hand, and these will allow me to get Magnetic Train built. The opponent does take away King Solomon's Mines, which would have been my next choice, but I'm pretty happy to get Solar Cannon back, which is just another scoring card for me. It's a general multiplier. Disregard that. I take the yellow discard first so I can ensure that I have 3 to get Magnetic Train built. I take the yellow here too. They take another Secret Laboratory, which is fine. It produces more green for them. It's also a scoring card, 1 times green cards, which is 5 at the moment. So that's a fine choice, but I do get the Solar Cannon back. And here I say I might as well just build a Recycling Plant, because it's going to just produce me 1 more yellow cube and 2 white production for next round. So I discard the 3 yellows, get Magnetic Train built before production, and this round we just build Recycling Plant, Zeppelin, Ancient Astronauts gets finished, and we start on Teleportation. And going into the 4th round, it's a pretty even game. It's currently 27 to 25. I still have 4 decent scoring cards to finish. My opponent has 3 decent scoring cards to finish. So my plate is looking a little bit full. I'll definitely struggle to finish Solar Cannon and Lunar Base and Teleportation. But I do have some leftover blue production, so Island of Avalon could be a decent first pick, which I strongly considered. I should have taken Universal Exposition, but it shows how often I face a green build that I kind of just ignored the 3 times green multiply, because it's normally a joke of a card. but it's clearly the best choice for them. At the moment, it's like a 9-point card for them. I'd take Giant Tower instead, thinking that maybe I can build it. I produce enough white and enough yellow to do it, so it's not that difficult for me to finish. And they start with a financier multiplier, which I really don't want to see. Looking back, you can definitely argue that they should have taken Atlantis away from me, but I don't think it's that bad of a pick, them picking a financier multiplier, because they currently have 10 financiers to my 5 generals. I do have some on the board if I can finish these cards, but that's not a guarantee. And I don't actually produce that much blue, so it's kind of tricky for me to build this as well, but I do take it, as it has the highest potential scoring out of any card. They do take the green multiplier. Now I have no interest in Island of Avalon because I just don't produce enough blue. So I just take away University as a card for them to build. I was thinking potentially they could build it before production and just produce even more green, but I also do need the green recycle for myself to finish these cards. And here I was kind of surprised and happy to see Polar Base come back, because when we're talking about efficient cards and premier cards in a yellow-blue build, this is definitely one of them as well. It costs a lot, but it gives you 3 production, a general, and 2 times blue cards. It's one of the best scorers in a yellow-blue build, and it gives you 3 production as well. And this is the production that I need to finish both of these cards. So I do secure that. The opponent takes Gravity Inverter, which is scary, but they should struggle to build all of these. If they want to build all 3 of these cards, they need 5 Crystallium. They're getting 1 from Secret Laboratory here. They have 1 in hand. Shouldn't be easy for them to finish all 3. Here I just take the blue recycle, but I should have taken a green, but it doesn't really matter. I do have enough to finish everything. Here I just take a nuclear plant, I need extra black for this. I need 6 black, I only produce 3. I did have thoughts of building it, but decided it's just better to build the wind turbines here. And final board, I can build everything here except the giant tower. So I made a slight calculation error, but I can just discard it, it doesn't matter. So I get the wind turbines built and make sure not to commit any cubes to giant tower because I do need them all. Make sure that Polar Base gets built. Technically correct play would have been putting a Crystallium on Garden to get it finished to produce an extra green. Thankfully that did not come back to bite me. And my opponent has some tough choices here. They produce 10 green, which gives them 4 Crystallium total, so they can actually build Time Travel, Secret Lab, Secret Society, Universal Exposition. They can build these 4 cards. And they finish on 98 points. Here we get Polar Base finished. And we have just enough Crystallium left over to finish Atlantis and Lunar Base, which gets us to 104. So it's kind of deceiving how high it can score. There's just a lot of points from a ton of different avenues. We have the flat points, like there's a lot of flat points built up among these cards. Underwater Cities give 3 each. Even these small blue cards give quite a bit. Even Magnetic Train gives 2, Teleportation. So we have 38 points from flat points alone. Then we have the color multipliers. We have 2 times blue cards, which is 8 points. We have 2 times yellow cards, which is 12 points. And we essentially have 4 times all generals, which is 44 points. So it's just a lot of different scoring avenues. And the opponent had a very good game themselves. 98 wins most games. They have 4 times financiers, which is 56 points from that. And they have 5 times green cards, which is 25 points, as well as 15 flat from time travel. So if you're ever considering how to do a green build, this is basically the format. You really need an early neuroscience, and cards like Transmutation, Secret Laboratory are really essential. But let's look at some other examples of a finished blue-yellow board. This is another game I played yesterday. We can see I had the same start into Wind Turbines Underwater City. This one was a bit different. I did slow build a nuclear plant in round 2. So with the extra black production, it does allow you to build a few more black cards. It means overall I had a higher blue production, but lower yellow production. And I did have one scaling blue producer here. So I was able to finish a lot more blue cards, and I sort of adapted as the game went on because there were a lot of blue cards in the draft, whereas in the previous game there weren't that many. And you can see I got most of the points from just blue cards, blue multipliers, and only 2 times generals. The opponent had a very similar build to the last game, but you can see without the neuroscience and without, like, the transmutation came extremely late, so they just lacked the production to do anything, which is rough because green cards and yellow cards can be really expensive. So they didn't build that much and they only scored 51 as a result. But you can see the same culprits like Ancient Astronauts, Lost Continent of Mu is a great card, Blackbeard's Treasure again. And another game I played yesterday, I actually have a much better start. The ideal start that you want with an underwater city is an offshore oil rig. It's a better white card to build because it produces 2 things. It produces the yellow you need for one of these cubes, so it's a much better start. And I did find much better blue cards early. These blue cards that produce yellow are insane for this build, plus Sorcerer Squadron's a very efficient blue producer. So I have a much better start here, but funnily enough I scored less because, well, as you can see from this game, both players just really struggled to find scoring cards. So I did finish with 5 Crystallium and I could have scored a lot higher. But same sort of idea, just scoring from a lot of different avenues. Yellow multiplier, blue multipliers, flat points. Even this one, there was a financier multiplier that was just built out of desperation. And even a green multiplier for 3 points and production. And you can see the opponent only finished on 10 financiers this game. That's because with this early start, I was able to deny them the financier bonuses for yellow production, which affects their scoring and just helps my build so much. So if there's 2 lessons I like people to take away from this, it's that you should focus on the high efficiency cards, cards that produce 3 or 4 resources. You only get to draft 28 cards in total for the game. So if you have one card that produces 3 or 4 resources, it's a huge deal. Think about something like a giant dam that produces 4 black. It does the job of 4 wind turbines, but it's much cheaper to build and it only costs 1 card as opposed to 4. But you can carry that concept across every single card. Something that like Underwater City is just really efficient, so I always look out for that in my opening hand. And the second lesson would be more flexible. You don't have to get your financiers or generals every game, even though it can definitely work. There are plenty of options to score points. And while generals and financiers have the highest ceiling, they also have the lowest floor. If you miss with your multipliers, you're just going to score terribly, like 40s. But if you go for flat point cards, it's very rare that I'm scoring under 60. Thanks everyone for watching and have a good one.